Ooh wee. Ooh wee. Shalom, shalom. What a battle. What a battle that was trying to get this thing to work. But shalom, everybody. Welcome back to Reading with Shilo, man. I hope that you all are ready for the next reading session of Conflict Resolution Playbook by Jeremy Pollack. I'm up. So since I'm up, we'll go ahead and get in the next two chapters, chapter 3 and chapter 4, which is part 2. Strategies to prevent conflicts. Strategies to prevent conflicts. Man, I might read 3, 4, and 5 because these look like short chapters. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Man, so let's see if there's anything we can learn and grow from in these next few chapters. All right. Pen people, highlighters. Let's get it. Chapter 3, part 2 of the Conflict Resolution Playbook. Part 2. Strategies to prevent conflicts. Now that you understand conflict as consequences of one's needs being threatened or going unmet, how can you improve at stopping conflicts before they start? In the following chapters, you'll learn strategies to help you proactively remove yourself as a threat to others' needs and to mitigate real or perceived threats to your own needs before a situation devolves into conflict. Chapter 3. Establishing the right conditions for difficult conversations. Establishing the right conditions for difficult conversations. Let me get that out of the way. So, Matt and Carrie have been married for just over a decade. They have 2 sons, an 8-year-old, Max, and a 13-year-old, Evan. They also run a small consulting business together. The business has always done well, but it's recently been on a downward trajectory, due to a combination of factors outside of their control. In addition to their professional stressors, their son Evan is starting to encounter academic and social challenges at school. Understandably, Carrie has become increasingly anxious. Every night before bed, she vents to her husband about her worries. Though Matt certainly emphasizes with Carrie, he has different methods of coping and doesn't want to go to bed anxious. He wants the hour before bed to be a relaxing time during which he can read a good book and wind down. Carrie knows this, but as the weeks go on and the stress accumulates, she grows increasingly frustrated because it seems like Matt never wants to carve out the time to discuss those important issues. One night, the tension comes to a head. When Carrie starts venting, Matt snaps. They got into a shouting match, and he ends up sleeping downstairs on the couch. He's worried that his behavior will never He's worried this behavior will never cease, and she's worried he'll never hear her out and address the issues that continue to pile up. Partners, whether in life or business, need time to express their concerns to each other. However, establishing the right conditions for these conversations is critical. Without doing so, both people can feel as though their needs are being discounted. In the previous scenario, Carrie Carrie's core needs for care and safety, manifested as a desire for attention and reassurance, are not being met. Meanwhile, Matt's core need for autonomy, manifested as a desire to control his space, is being challenged. To stop conflicts before they begin, it's vital to create the right conditions in order to not have stressful, emotionally charged, or anxiety induced conversations. Strategy session. In any relationship, it is important for each person to feel safe expressing their needs, feelings, and concerns. Likewise, each person should have control over their own space and boundaries. Here are some best practices to ensure you set the right conditions for difficult conversations to maintain trust, satisfy each other's needs, and prevent conflict. Set aside time. At home, this could take the form of a weekly family check in where each person agrees to a time when they are open to listening and talking about difficult subjects. At work, this could take the form of a regular one on one meeting between managers and employees to reflect on the areas in which the employee is doing well and to express any challenges either the manager or the employee is experiencing. Establish a conversation protocol. At home, this could be a rule that adult family members discuss certain topics or bring up challenges only during designated times. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one that a lot of people don't follow. That's how I'll go ahead and highlight. Don't talk the nonsense in front of the children. Wait till they sleep. Wait till they out. Whatever. At school. Wait. At home, this could be a rule that adult family members discuss certain topics and bring up challenges only during designated times. At work, this could be a clear rule for one's team about when challenges should be discussed. The protocol can state, for instance, that challenges are to be written down and discussed in a weekly group meeting or a monthly one-on-one meeting. In either case, try creating a shared language that signals the need for a difficult conversation. For instance, if I have established the word clear in past situations as the indicator that I would like to discuss the problem, I might say, hey, do you have time to get clear on something today at 5 p.m.? This way, the person I'm speaking to knows what to expect and can mentally prepare. Hmm. Commit to staying calm. Commit to staying calm. That's a that can be a that can be a challenging one for a lot of people. Whatever happens, commit to yourself prior to difficult conversations that you will stay calm and available to hear the other person out. The minute an individual raises their voice or gets defensive, the conditions for effective communication have been dismissed. Maintaining tactful body language, positioning, and vocal tone are all conducive to establishing conditions for difficult conversations. Writerly advice. In general, all difficult conversations should happen, in person or over the phone, because there is so much room for misinterpretations of tone. Having challenging discussions via email or text can often lead to further conflict and challenges. Do yourself a favor. If you have something difficult to discuss with someone, send them a text or an email only to ask them if they have time for you for this afternoon or whenever it's best. Let them tell you when they can make time to sit and listen so you can feel heard and they don't feel trapped. Keep in mind, it's important both to feel heard and maintain control over your personal space. Designating a time for difficult conversations and committing to remain calm will help everyone navigate the issues, find solutions, and prevent a solvable challenge from becoming Designating a time for difficult conversations and committing to remain calm will help everyone navigate the issues, find solutions, and prevent a solvable challenge from becoming a serious conflict. At home, I often find after dinner or after the kids are in bed is a good time. At work, sometime weekly in the later afternoon when the bulk of the day work or daily work has been completed might be best. Man, I'm tripping. If you find yourself unable to remain calm during a difficult conversation, remove yourself to get level. You may take a few moments to close your eyes. Focus on your breathing and remind yourself, I can do this and I will be okay. Only rejoin the meeting if and when you can communicate calmly and clearly. That was the end of chapter 3. That was the end of chapter 3. Establishing the right conditions for difficult conversations. Chapter 4. Letting go of resentment. And this is one that I think that I might definitely have an issue with. So let's see what I can learn. Letting go of resentment. No matter what Olivia does, she can't seem to do anything right, at least not in Natalie's eyes. Although Natalie is technically her co worker, not her boss, she always has some seemingly snarky comment for Olivia. Last week, it was a remark about the strange design on her monthly report. The week before, excuse me, last week, it was a remark about the strange design on her monthly report. The week before, it was that Olivia's clothing seemed like an odd choice for an office setting. In fact, Olivia would be pressed to remember the last time she had a positive or even somewhat pleasant exchange with Natalie, and she can't figure out why. When Olivia started working there 2 years ago, she and Natalie grabbed coffee together almost every morning, and evening met socially, and even met socially on the weekends once in a while. But about 6 months ago, that all changed. Natalie, of course, sees things quite differently. Ever since Olivia got promoted to senior project manager, she's been barking orders at everyone in the office, including Natalie. What Olivia doesn't know or fails to recognize is that Natalie had been working toward the same position for 5 years, 4 years longer than Olivia. Though she may not admit it to herself, a small part of Natalie believes that making Olivia's life miserable will force her to quit, leaving room for her to take over. Oh, Lord, I could not. If that's what she really thinks. Obviously, Natalie is harboring a tremendous amount of resentment towards Olivia, little of which has to do with Olivia's actions. Resentment is complex that way. It can fester in both personal and professional relationships, suffering in response to direct slights or comments as well as indirect, unconscious actions. No matter what someone does, if you resent them, it will be nearly impossible to give them credit for anything. Your mind will naturally seek out evidence for the belief that they are somehow wrong and discount evidence to the contrary. Amusing you, excuse me, assuming you have to talk to this person or even collaborate with them, such resentment, such resentment, excuse me, such resentment is almost certain to end in conflict. Though Natalie may think that holding on to her resentment toward Olivia is a way to punish her. The truth is that Natalie's resentment punishes Natalie the most. On top of the conflict that may or may not arise between her and Olivia, clinging to negative thoughts and emotions creates friction and conflict within her own psyche. This is likely because a part of her realizes that her resentment is a matter of displaced envy. If you want to prevent conflict from emerging or worsening, it is critical to explore any feelings of resentment and do your best to transform them into a healthier, more productive outlook. Strategy session. Strategy session. Letting go of resentment isn't easy, but the following are two exercises I employ with people you who are looking to hold to heal old wounds and in turn prevent future conflicts. Man, y'all gotta excuse me. I am running over words tonight. I'm running over them. Strategy session. Letting go of resentment isn't easy, but the following are two exercises I employ with people who are looking to heal old wounds and in turn prevent future conflicts. The clearing task. Think about the person you resent and complete the following sentences. If there are several things you resent this individual for, you can do this exercise several times. Sequence, name, whoever it is. I feel, add the emotion, not the thought. Sequence, because when you add specific behaviors and situations in the present or past. Sequence, I interpret it as, add thoughts, interpretations, and meanings. Sequence, as a result, I don't trust that you add judgments, assumptions, and evaluations. Sequence, what I need from you is add specific behaviors in the future. Example, from Natalie's perspective. Olivia, I feel embarrassed and angry because when you accepted the project management position, I interpreted it as a lack of consideration for my time here and my career goals. Selfish as a bitch. My bad. Excuse me. What about Olivia's career goals? As a result, I don't trust that you really care about me as a friend or that you support me growing as a professional. What I need from you is to hear that you do care about me, that you do not intend to step over me when you are accepted, that you did not intend to step over me when you accepted the position, and that you will do what you can to involve me in leading the project with you. Are you willing to do that? This sequence can be used to decipher why you resent someone and to separate the behavior you witness from the meanings and the judgments you placed on it. It also gives you space to express your emotions beneath the resentment. If this sequence is done in person, both people should fully understand the sequence and how it works. Typically, such sessions are mediated by a facilitator. If the other person is not participating or you do not have a facilitator, then it may be enough to sit with the person and tell them what you need from them going forward. The last part of the sequence only. In this case, remember to use I statements so as to not sound accusatory or judgmental. Three-part reconciliation writing task. When confronting the other person is impossible or unreasonable, the following three-part writing exercise can be a helpful way to release your resentment. Number one, a letter from you. With your clearing statements in mind, write out everything you would like to say to the individual. You are not actually be sending this. Vent, but without blame or judgment. Remember to separate their behavior from their interpretations and feelings. Take responsibility for any part of the issue you can own. Ah, finally, state your needs and or desires. What would you like to hear or see from them to move forward? Whether that means separating or rebuilding the relationship. Number two, response from them. Now you will write a response to your initial letter from the individual you resent. Think about what you would like to hear from them in an ideal world. What would really help you feel heard and considered and that your needs are satisfied? Write as if they really heard and understood you. Let your own, let them own their parts in this conflict. End with best wishes. Number three, response from you. Finally, respond to their letter. Appreciate their ownership and recognize their willingness to move forward peacefully. Again, in the letter on good terms. Though it may seem silly at first, this exercise can be quite healing. According to a study from the European view of social psychology, imagined friendly contact with a perceived foe can activate the same brain areas as actual contact, which can lead to feelings of reconciliation. Keep in mind, resentment may be a protection mechanism for your mind to safeguard against future pain. If you write down the lessons you've learned, you may be able to drop the resentment. Ultimately, holding on to resentment will only hurt you. The other person may not be affected by your resentment, even if they are. Maintaining a negative dynamic with another person can take a psychological toll. Is there something in you deep down, underneath the pride and protection, that honestly does not want to resent anymore, but instead wants to finally let go of the grudge? I bet there is. Follow that instinct. That was the end of chapter 4. Uh, letting go of resentment. Like I said, those are small chapters, man. I think I want to start chapter 5. Hmm. Man, we might do 5 and 6. It depends. Chapter 5, setting clear expectations. The most important people in Tom's life always seem to let him down. His ex wife's constant prodding led to never ending arguments. Nothing ever seemed good enough for her. Eventually, Tom had enough and filed for divorce. Now, Tom's new girlfriend, Nora, who he really likes, is starting to disappoint him as well. She shows up late to dinner, doesn't return his calls or texts in a timely manner, and sometimes makes pointed comments about his attire. He knows they're supposed to be jokes, but it reminds Tom of his ex's behavior. Naturally, he liked to commiserate with his best friends. He would like to commiserate. Let's see what that is. Commiserate. 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 Let's see. Commiserate. You know, all these words I look up sometimes. I be hoping I can remember them if I'm when I'm playing Scrabble. Commiserate? Oh, I know that's a word. I looked it up the other day. Commiserate. Committee. Commission. Commiserate. To feel or express pity. Commiserate. Naturally, he'd like to express pity or feel pity to commiserate with his best friend, Marco. But Marco has all but disappeared since getting engaged. And if his personal life weren't causing him enough grief, Tom's associate, Brady, has been totally unfocused, showing up late to work and slacking on everything. Whether Tom is uncomfortable with confrontation or simply cannot communicate his needs, his inability to set clear expectations with the people around him is creating all kinds of issues in his life. To be fair, people are not mind readers. It is not always reasonable to assume others understand what you expect from them or that they have agreed to your expectations, and vice versa. If we do not set clear expectations for others and clearly understand their expectations of us, we are bound to come into conflict with them. To stop these conflicts before they start or worsen, it is critical to establish clear relationship arrangements, mutual agreeable expectations for how to act within a particular dynamic. Relationships agreements exist between us and all other people with whom we interact. Most of them are unspoken, what psychologists often call social contracts, which some are explicit. With strangers on the street, we have agreed to smile and nod or ignore each other. With friends, we have tactfully agreed to be there for each other and talk on a regular basis. With business partners, we have legal and organizational agreements. Whether tact or explicit, relationship agreements are important to any scenario. Allowing a breach to continue, as Tom has, is sure to lead to anger and resentment. However, addressing the breach and clearly identifying each person's expectations forges a path back to mutual trust and satisfaction. Strategy session. The strategies in this section will help you clarify your expectations of someone with whom tensions may be mounting and help you adjust them with when necessary. Clarify expectations. Clarify expectations. Use the following template for any person who is letting you down or not meeting your expectations. I have filled this out with Tom. Fill this out for Tom. Number one, or the first one. I feel disappointed when. Name, Nora. Don't call me back for several hours. Brady. Don't show up to work on time. I would prefer you to add specific behavior. Nora. Call me back within a couple of hours at most. And if you are too busy, just text to let me know when you can call. Is that doable? Brady. Be here at 9 a.m. or call me if you're running late. Is that doable? My proposed agreement is Nora to respond to each other's calls within a couple of hours or text what time we can call back. Brady, for you to arrive at work at 9 a.m. or call if you're running late. This exercise will help you specify what you want from an individual. You may have several roles you need to fill out for a single person. Once you're clear on what you would prefer, you can either talk to the person to let them know how you feel or propose the agreement in a natural way, depending on what is most appropriate for each situation and relationship. In some cases, especially at work, you can implement accountability measures. In personal relationships, consequences for breaking the agreement are not always applicable or advisable. Instead, it is best to discuss why the agreement was broken and how it should be adjusted going forward. Adjust expectations when necessary. After evaluating and potentially discussing your or the other person's expectations, you may discover that they cannot be met. In order to mitigate disappointment and ultimately prevent a conflict, you will need to adjust your expectations. The following are three questions worth asking yourself. What is the relationship's value? Every relationship contains a cost benefit equation or a balance between the value of that relationship to you and the effort required by you to manage the relationship. Based on what you can reasonably expect from the individual, ask yourself to follow the following questions. Am I getting enough out of it for what I want to have to put in? Do I need or want this person in my life? If the answer to these questions is no, it may be time to move on. Definitely good questions. Am I getting enough out of it for what I have to put in? Do I need this person in my life? Hmm, good questions. Are you willing to let go of your original expectations? If the relationship is worth keeping, then then accept the new expectations and do not expect anything beyond what is agreed to by both of you. It is not fair to keep expecting what you had originally hoped for, even after the other person has made it clear that they cannot or will not meet those expectations. Hmm. How capable is the relationship of evolving? It is okay for others to have different expectations, standards, or capacities in personal or professional relationships. You do not have to align on these matters at the outset. What's important is that we clarify what we expect from one another and adjust our expectations accordingly. The healthiest relationships are those that evolve through effective communications to help each other align with, understand, and respect the other's standards. This is particularly important with difficult family members and loved ones with whom you have a long history and who you want or need in your life. If you want someone in your life, then get clear on what you can expect from them and learn to accept and even appreciate them for what they can give. Keep in mind, do not assume someone understands your expectations of them or that they are deliberately letting you down. If you seem to be letting someone else down, ask them to outline what it is they can expect of you. So if you can meet their expectations or ask the person to adjust them. Try writing down relationship agreements. Though they can be flexible or and ever evolving with significant others and employees. With friends and family members, very clear verbal agreements as to expectations should be sufficient. If you are in a relationship with someone who does not understand or respect boundaries very well, such as in a codependent relationship, setting clear expectations and holding that person accountable to your relationship agreement may be quite difficult. In these cases, if the relationship is worth it, a couple's counselor or a communication coach is highly advised. Yeah, they gotta want to go to that thing. That was chapter 5. That was chapter 5. Chapter 6. Recognizing difficult communication styles. Ooh. I'm gonna stop after chapter 6. Yeah, I'll stop after chapter 6. It's only a couple pages. Javi is a chef first and a restaurant owner second. At least that's the way he thinks of himself. Fortunately, through mutual friends, he met Penelope. Think about Wreck-It Ralph. Fortunately, through mutual friends, he met Penelope, the successful manager of a local restaurant group. Though he'd initially asked Penelope only for informal advice, she soon took an official role as his director of operations. In this position, she would be able to not only advise on business strategy, but also introduce him to the investors he'd need to expand his small bistro into a newly vacant space next door. Javi was thrilled to have such a seasoned, knowledgeable leader on board. 3 years later, the partnership is on the verge of implosion. Penelope is a fast talker, quick thinker, and a direct communicator. She asks blunt questions and expects direct, clear answers. She doesn't have time to hedge or wait several days for answers to simple questions, especially with her investors' relationships on the line. Javi, however, takes his time when speaking. He carefully considers his words and requires space to contemplate his question and answers. His voice is soft and his mannerisms are subtle. If he's rushed, his words can get jumbled and he can become frustrated and shut down. Javi's communication style frustrates Penelope to no end. When he doesn't answer her right away, she grows impatient. She needs answers, and if Javi can't give them quickly, she thinks maybe he shouldn't be running a business. Javi finds Penelope triggering. She seems to dominate every conversation. More and more, Penelope's questions are beginning to feel like direct challenges to his authority and intelligence. His natural inclination is to shut down and go quiet, which in turn triggers Penelope. Conflicts between individuals are with different communication styles are all too common, both at home and in the workplace. Interestingly, direct communicators often attract and are attracted to more passive communicators, both professionally and romantically. Perhaps opposites really do attract, or perhaps it's an example of psychological transference. Whenever each person recognizes in their partner their communication style of one of their parents and subconsciously hopes to use their partnership to heal childhood wounds. Oh man. Oh man. Whatever the reason, identifying and honoring different communication styles is vital for preventing conflict. In doing so, we can stop misinterpreting why others talk to us the way they do, allowing us to recognize the discrepancies between our assumptions and their intentions. Strategy session. Do you want to prevent conflict with others who have different communication styles? Follow these 4 rules. Number 1, stop assuming. Maybe someone's communication style reminds you of someone from your past, and you instinctively associate the two. Or maybe their style simply rubs you the wrong way, and you don't know why. Either way, stop assuming intentions from their communication style. Your assumptions are likely inaccurate and biased towards the negative. If you knew the other person what the other person actually means, if you knew the other person actually means well, respects and cares about you, and just seems to be aggressive or avoidant because of their style, you'd be far less likely to feel defensive. So if someone goes quiet on you or seems passive, do not assume it means they aren't paying attention or considering your input. If someone is direct and blunt, do not assume they intend to attack you. Number 2, seek clarification. If their style triggers you in any way, such as making you want to blow up or avoid them altogether, it's worthy it's worth an inquiry. Man, yeah, my reading is sucking tonight. I read all these chapters. I'm reading all these chapters tonight, and my reading is sucking. Hmm. Hmm. If their style triggers you in any way, such as making you want to blow up or avoid them altogether, it's worth an inquiry. Try telling them directly how you interpret their message and ask them to clarify. For example, excuse me, Javi could say, Penelope, when you keep asking me questions before I can answer, I assume you want to intimidate me. Is this your intention? Number three, honor their intention. Once you clarify their intention or what they actually experience when they communicate in ways that trigger you, do your best to honor that. For example, Penelope might respond, no, when I ask questions, it's just because I care about our success and I want to get through as many points as possible. It would then be Javi's job to honor that by keeping in mind that her questions do not intend to challenge and her tone is not meant to intimidate. Number four, remind yourself of your misperceptions, perceptions, or misperceptions. Changing interpretations and automatic reactions to triggering communication styles is difficult. It takes time and patience to alter the way you perceive and judge difficult styles. And you cannot expect anyone, including yourself, to drastically change the way they communicate. All you can do is remind yourself of the following. Even though I feel triggered right now, it doesn't mean they are attacking or avoiding me. It's just my perception, and it's not necessarily true. This will take time and effort, but if the relationship is worth it, it's absolutely necessary to do to prevent conflicts. If you appear to be triggering someone and you're not sure why, you want to speak with them and potentially adjust your style. Follow the same general rules in the previous sequence. It will be important, at least initially, to check in with the other person regularly to ensure your adjustments are working. Writerly advice. Writerly advice. Text and email are potent setups for communication style conflicts. Some people use exclamation points and emojis to brighten the tone of their messages. However, others reply with curt answers and no punctuation. These kinds of messages are often misinterpreted. For example, curt answers can read as frustrated or dismissive, but the truth may be that the person sending short messages doesn't mean it like that and simply doesn't have time to elaborate or find the right emoji to add. So, if you're going to converse with someone regularly via text or email, get to know their style. Don't assume their intent. Fight the urge to read into some underlying message or meaning. Keep in mind, don't assume you know what someone means by their tone or manner. There are deep psychological reasons why you might be interpreting it that way. It takes time to get to know others' communication styles. In most close relationships, at home or at work, communication requires discussions and adjustments. Give yourself room to learn and make mistakes. Be patient. So much of communication depends on tone. In the absence of tone, as with emails or text, the mind tends to fill in the gaps with tones of its own. Be critical of your mind when it does that. Be cognizant of your personal triggers when it comes to different kinds of communication styles. For a helpful exercise in identifying triggers, see Chapter 9 and apply the exercise. See Chapter 64. To communication styles, words, or tones that send you into aggression or avoidance. And that was chapter 6. Recognizing different communication styles. Yeah, those are some short chapters, but some definitely some hard hitters. We'll come back next time with chapter 7, honoring diversity, and chapter 8, staying open when you want to shut others down. So that was 4 chapters of Conflict Resolution Playbook by Jeremy Pollack. We're moving right along, man. We're moving right along. We've read a good bit of this book. Moving right along. I have to adjust the name of the numbers on the book. The numbers on the title. But thank y'all, everybody who may have popped in, listened for a while, everybody who catches it on the back end. Thank y'all for listening and putting up with my 2 out of 5 performance tonight and reading. But we'll push through and keep reading. Try to get better and better and better, man. Face has been breaking out. A little bit every day. A little bit every day. I need to start fixing my stuff, man. Organizing my book. Yeah. But till next time, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your people, man. If there's some books you might want to hear, let me know. If you have books, then you might want them read, man. Hit me up. Shoot me an email. Maybe we can work something out. But until then, I'll keep pulling books off the shelf. Things that I think, might be good to read and try to read it. See what we can learn and grow from. Like I said, until next time, man. Shilo out. Hope y'all have a nice night.